Good Saturday afternoon to y'all. I hope that this finds you well. I hope that you guys are having a good weekend thus far. Little disclaimer, I am on kid duty for the weekend as my wife gets some much needed relief from just being around kids all day before she goes back to work on Monday. And so pardon any kids maybe running into the room or yelling or me having to go take care of something in the middle of this video. For those of y'all that have kiddos, y'all understand. But I really wanted to record this video and get it out while today's race was fresh on my mind. So the race that I'm going to be talking about are the summer crits that are going on over in Fort Worth, Texas, and Andy Hollinger is putting them on. Thanks, Andy, for putting those on. It's just great to be able to find some races to just break things up in the summertime when it's so hot and there really is not a lot of racing. So the way that the racing goes, he's set it up just a very open format where any category that you're in, I mean, even me being a Cat 1, you can race 2 times, sometimes even 3 times in the same day. So, you know, using it to get in some volume, get in some good crit racing, and just hang around with some folks and have some fun. So the crit, it hasn't been very well attended. There haven't really been a whole lot of people. It's on the same course as a Wednesday night weekly crit that he does. That series is over. So it's been on the same course as that. So a lot of the same faces, some new faces. But anyhow, today was race number 2 of that. There's one next week as well. And I wanted to go through today's race. Man, it was crazy. It was hard. Here's how it's set up. I think we had 8 or 9 guys in the first race that I did, and of those 8 or 9 guys, I believe that 6 of them or 5 of them were from the same team. And so like they had pretty much more than half the field, definitely. And then it was me and a couple of other guys. I think one other team had 2 guys, I believe, or 3 guys. And so I knew that, you know, Crest RBM, that was a team. I knew that they were going to have the upper hand if they played their tactics well. In the second race that I did, I believe there were 15 guys, and I believe that 6 or 7 of them were Crest guys as well. So just, you know, the races were stacked with Crest RBM guys. And I remember Andy this morning on the start line asked, "Hey, Crest, do you guys want to do shirts and skins?" And I answered for him. I said no. And he said, "Man, there's so many of them." And I said, "Yes, there are, but you know what? They chose to show up and they paid their money, and don't take that away from them. They do have an advantage in terms of their numbers, and let's just roll it out and see how it goes." Y'all, that first race was so absolutely painful for me because tactically, you know, what are you going to do? They played a really good, solid game. Their tactics were very, very good. They just kept sending guys off the front and just kept you on your toes. There were a couple of moves that I got into with some of their guys, and, you know, smartly and intelligently, if they were the guys that they didn't feel had a chance to beat me, then they brought it back and they reset. And so they've got a guy that's a former European professional, rode for Saturn and rode for a Belgian team called Flanders, Seth Pelusi. I've got a podcast interview with him, actually. So if you jump onto wherever you get your podcasts and search A Champion's Mind, I have a conversation with him, and he's got a ton of experience. He's back into racing because his son is you know, starting to race, and so he's got some pedigree, right? So he's the guy that they wanted in the moves, you know, the winning move along with John Muirzak, and if they could have it to where they were in it and I wasn't, then that was good. And that happened in both of the races. That happened in the first race, and that happened in the second race. I think I got 4th place in the first race, and it's only because John sat up and let me have 4th. John Muirzak, he was on my wheel. And then in the second race, I can't remember. I think I got 6th or 7th. So I'm mentioning place, and I usually don't mention place. Here's why I'm mentioning place in this race recap. Because it's not all about place. Because I am so satisfied with the way that I race my bike. I never said die. I chased down every single one of those guys. There was one point where John Muirzak went off the front in the first race, and he was off the front by himself. And like, if I would have not chased him with a bunch of Crest RBM guys on my back, I think that a lot of people would have seen that as honorable. Like, you let him have the win, and you just like try to take care of the guys behind you. Why? Because we knew what was coming. As soon as I got caught, of course, textbook, they send a guy off the front who counters. He, another guy was on his wheels, so those two are away. And then, Seth kind of sits in for a little bit longer while I pull now because I've got to go get them. And then Pelusi, Seth Pelusi goes by me like I'm standing still and goes on to win. I can't remember a whole lot of what happened because literally the race was so hard. I was cross-eyed. I was spent after the first race. And there was, I had to line up and do race number 2. So I can't remember a whole lot of it, but I do remember that I fought the entire time and I gave 100%. And, I went until I couldn't go anymore. And hats off to those guys. I mean, nothing against Crest RBM. I mean, they raced awesome. I'm glad they're there. I joked to John when we were coming in at the end of the first race and we were both together. I said, when I win a race, one of these days, it's going to be thanks to you guys, and next week, I don't know if more guys are going to come out, but if not, I'm looking forward to doing it again next week. And I'm looking forward to, being outnumbered and trying to figure out a way. I mean, there's a solution to the problem, and I'm going to keep trying to figure it out. And I think it's fun. It's not fun in the moment when my legs are screaming, but it's fun to think about, and it's fun to try to figure it out. And even though I didn't figure it out, I stretched myself today, and I rode really, really hard in both races. Just to give you a quick little, the second race wasn't as volatile. The second race wasn't as just all out drag race. Like, honestly, the first race for me was just, I felt it was like a bloodbath. And I'm one of the only guys that came out with blood on me because they, Crest cleaned up. But in the second race, they got a guy off the front, a guy named Phil Butler who rides for them, good, strong rider, and he got off the front, and I got another local team there and kind of grabbed them and told them, hey, guys, just like set tempo, leave them out there. That'll neutralize them from attacking. Partially because I needed a breather from the first race. I needed a couple of laps to just recover because there's only like 10 minutes in between races. So we did that, and I didn't know what the future held once Phil got brought back, and we would find out. And sure enough, we did. When they got brought back, attacks started going and stuff like that, a couple of which I was in, but, to no avail. So, that's how it goes. That's bike racing, and if you're around, I'd love to see you out in Fort Worth next week. Come on out. It's a good time. It's good, hard racing. I got a watermelon as a preem. Tell me how awesome that is. I traded for it, right? I bartered because I was on the list for another preem, but I told the guy I wanted the watermelon because, as y'all can see, I'm watching kiddos and they love them some watermelon. So, music for this video provided by Lyndon Jade, my youngest daughter, who is currently playing with a little toy. And there's Annalise, the other one, the 6-year-old, the old one. So anyhow, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.